there seems to be a tendency that, or a train of thought perhaps, that go out, do the club scene, get your experience out there, and come in, and all of a sudden you can do a radio show. Surely that's not the case.
It's not the case. The club scene's completely different. Like I used to try to earn money back then by going out and spinning discs or whatever. And it is an absolutely, completely different job. Do the club scene. What does that mean? When you're presenting a radio programme, you're trying to be quite intimate with people. You're trying to be very personal with people. You're trying to be very natural. What you're not trying to do is say, right, come on all up on the dance floor now and, put your pint in your head and balance it. It's nonsense to compare the two.
Mm-hmm. Now, I suppose part of the show, as you're saying, is confronting politicians. I don't want to put words in your mouth and describe your show for you, but you know what it's about. I think most people listening to this will know what it's about. I won't insult them by describing your show. But there's, I think, a softer side of you as well, which you're saying about being intimate, about knowing, I suppose, the way to address certain issues. Do you try to keep that side a wee bit lower profile on the radio? Is that something you...
No, I don't try to keep it lower profile at all. Look, a lot of people when they meet me, they say to me, "Oh, you're kind of,
I think you're going to be hard work,
softer than what or whatever." They find me softer than what they imagined, whatever that means. It's probably a little fat around me, soft, and if you think about it, what advantage is there to me to being lightweight or soft with a politician? My job with those politicians is to try to push them, is to try to probe what they are doing for this country, what they're not doing for this country. I also respect the politicians. The ones who I respect the most are the ones I hammer the most.
Yeah.
And it's kind of that simple.
Is it because they can take it? Well, what is it that you respect about them when they can take that? I don't want to say abuse. Abuse would be the wrong word, but when they take that sort of barrage of questions, what is it you respect about them? I respect
their ability to do the job. So my questioning is kind of coming from the point of view, I know you do have the ability to do this. Are you delivering? I respect their intellect, that they understand that my role is to provide an accountability function that, you can't have if you're an ordinary citizen, whatever it is listens to me every day. 150,000 people cannot have access to a politician every day, but they can through people like me and others. So I a lot of the politicians understand what I'm doing, which is why they come on, and they do deliver. I don't tolerate on the programme callers who come on and say they're all wasters, because they're not, or they're all just in it for the money, because they're not. I would say, I don't know very many of them that are just in it for the money, because the kind of hours those guys work, they could make a lot more money elsewhere. But it doesn't mean I'm going to give them an easy time. I had a really interesting scenario there in 5 Live on the weekend on Sunday night, because I give the politicians a hard time, but then, I had a very, very, very senior BBC executive who was going in front of the Public Accounts Committee in London the next day about BBC presenter salaries. I spent 30 minutes on a live radio programme trying to give her the same type of interview that I would give a politician. And, I would challenge anybody to, and it was about presenter salaries. Yeah. So I would challenge anybody to draw any type of difference between what I said to a BBC executive about presenter salaries, where I have an interest, and any politician that has responsibility for health or education or whatever. I'm also passionate, Michael, about the responsibility that this programme has. Now, it does have the connection with the public that it has, and that's something we shouldn't take for granted, and that's something that may go if the public takes it away, and I'm flattered that they've got it at the moment with us. But I'm mindful of the responsibility that, because that connection's there, that we deliver for people. And I absolutely love it when someone comes up to me and says, "Here, Stephen, see that education minister, see that health minister, or it's ridiculous at this or that and the other," because they're engaging in policies which will affect their lives. And I'd much rather they did that than throw bricks at each other, or think that they couldn't influence what happens in Northern Ireland.
So in a way it makes politics accessible to the everyday person.
I try to. Yeah. I am an everyday person.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. You know, what a disgrace it would be if we allowed any programme to prosper which had the attitude that it knows better and therefore it is there to educate the public. I tell this team every day, actually, the public's here to educate us. The public bring us the stories. I'm not really interested in whether somebody has a degree or not, or if they sound all hoity-toity coming on the line or anything like it. I'm interested in, as you say, everyday people, everyday, genuine, authentic people, no matter what their education is.
I was on the BBC website going through some archives from this show, in fact, and I heard...
God help you.
The topic of the toilets in Belfast city centre.
Yes.
And 20 minutes and riveting stuff and about toilets, and it's just people, I suppose when they're tuning in, it's a bit of a culture shock. Sometimes they don't know what you're going to talk about, but that's maybe part of the charm.
Yeah.
Because it's whatever the listener wants to talk about as well.
Well, exactly. And variety is really, really important. If I take the last week, we have led with, with a story of a hospital that missed someone's cancer, and that family came to me to do that story. Now think of the responsibility there with something like that. Before that, with someone that contacted us and he needed a cancer drug in order to survive. Think of the responsibility there. And the variety then in a programme where someone's having a go at me from a wait, or someone has noticed me buying 5 packets of crisps in a shop and they're talking to me about that. Someone that's, whatever, laughing with me. And so the range is really important. But really obvious in my mind, I can't understand. There will be quite a few people that say, oh, you have to do a certain type of programme and you lose authority and you lose integrity if 1 minute you're doing a news story and the next minute you're having a laugh. No, you don't. Because that's part of a normal conversation. That's part of, normal everyday life.
I think people have a sort of preset formula in their head that everything needs to be dead serious. If you're going to talk about current affairs, it has to be very serious and, get that tie up, touching your chin, and let's make it like this.
They're talking cake.
Yeah. And you do it differently than that. And I think there's obviously merit to what you're doing for not just for the awards you've won, move that aside, but for the listeners you get and continue to get. Where do you see yourself in a few years? Now,
you're quite a good interviewer. You're quite a natural interviewer. How long have you been at this for?
Well, I started radio when I was 15, 7 years ago, community radio, and that's why I'm so passionate about it myself. So it's good to hear someone else of your experience say that.
You're very good. You're very natural.
Well, thank you. Well, we'll go back to the question for now.
So I'm interviewing you now.
You are, and you're very used to it as well, and I'm well aware of that. I was actually surprised you didn't try turn it quicker on me. Okay. Surprised / relieved. But it's hard for a presenter to say where they want to be because that's a loaded question, and I know it is. But do you have an ambition? Do you have something that you're looking at? I know the show's here. I know you're on 5 Live, but is there another type of show you'd want to do? Is there anything else you're looking at? Are England going to steal you from us? You're smiling.
I'm trying not to sound cheesy. I was going to say I'm living the dream, and that sounds awful. My ambition was always to work for the BBC, and that's not in any way. I loved being at UTV. Mm-hmm. I loved commercial radio. I loved BCR, but I always had an ambition to work for the BBC. And now that I'm in the BBC, it hasn't let me down. I think it's an incredible organisation. I'm really proud to work for the BBC. I shake the BBC tree, quite a lot. Mm-hmm. I think it's part of my job to shake the BBC tree quite a lot. I train producers and presenters for the BBC, and I still to this day don't understand why the BBC asks me to train them, because the first thing I do is I try to tell them it's very important that some of them are rebels within this organisation. Mm-hmm. Am I going to go to England is a big question. The truthful answer is I don't know. I will always feel that Radio Ulster has a very important place. I would always like to continue to present in Radio Ulster. Could I see myself going across the water at some stage? Yes. Do I have any plans to go now? I'm there. I live in England 3 days a week now, and at the minute it's all working perfectly. I get the best of both worlds. I do 5 days a week here, 3 across in England, and there are no full-time offers at the moment. If there was, I wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah. I think it's crazy to think that you've done what you've done and you're 38. People say it to me about, oh, you're 22 and you've done X, Y, and Z, but you're 38 and look where you are now. And in terms of radio, you're a baby. You're one of the babies of this station in terms of age. Age doesn't come into it. If you're a broadcaster, you're a broadcaster, and that's it. But it does to the extent of the longevity of your career. So is that a scary thought? You know, you could have 30 years more of Nolan.
Yeah, it's a very scary thought. You know, I just don't know what will happen. I was offered a very significant job in television in England a couple of years ago. A very significant job, which would have paid me double what I was getting at the BBC. And I said no and turned it down.
It's interesting. I remember you standing in on the right stuff and programs like that.
Yes, I was dipping my toe in the water in England, and you know, someone flew over here and offered me a job.
TV or radio?
TV. And that's why it was big money, because there's big money in TV, bigger money across the water in TV, or there was at that time, and it just didn't feel, you know, I was tempted, but I didn't go, and I've no regrets I didn't go. So I don't know. I just don't know. I love 5 Live.
Yeah.
You know.
Why do you love 5 Live? What's different about it than here?
Well, remember that I love Radio Ulster too, but
Yes.
but it is different. I'm not saying it's better, but it's different in that
It's just different people
the
listening.
opportunity that there is for an international story in 5 Live is obviously going to be, Radio Ulster is not going to do that type of story into that type of depth. Also, it's breaking news that I do. So, you know, last year, the Sony that I won last year, we won UK Speech Programme of the Year for the 5 Live show last year. And, you know, I'm thinking what was in that entry. Part of what was in that entry was when 5 Live flew me to Ground Zero in New York to speak to some of the first responders. Part of what was in that entry was when they were fighting in Libya during my airtime, and I was talking to people who were on the ground surrounded by gunfire. I was talking to surgeons who were working on people in a makeshift hospital while I was on air, while they were working on them. That type of opportunity is on 5 Live, where I'm sitting there and anything anywhere in the world could happen, and I'm on a radio network anchoring it. That's exciting.